The vanishing and the return Captain Sarah Chun stood at the observation deck of the exploration vessel Pathfinder, watching Earth grow smaller through the reinforced viewport. The blue marble that held everything humanity had ever known was now just a bright dot among countless stars. This was the moment she had trained for her entire life. Yet the weight of responsibility felt heavier than ever. The Pathfinder was humanity's greatest achievement in space exploration, built over 7 years by the combined efforts of every major nation on Earth. It represented the pinnacle of human engineering and ambition. The ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its sleek hull designed to withstand the harsh conditions of deep space. Advanced fusion drives powered the vessel, while state-of-the-art life support systems would keep the crew alive during their 3-year mission. Navigator Marcus Webb approached from behind, his footsteps echoing softly on the metal deck. Marcus was a quiet man with sharp eyes and an uncanny ability to find paths through the most complex stellar phenomena. He had volunteered for this mission, knowing he might never see his wife and twin daughters again, but his dedication to human exploration outweighed his personal fears. "Captain, we're approaching the final checkpoint before entering deep space," Marcus reported. "All navigation systems are green. We should reach the Alpha Centauri region in 18 months. Sarah nodded, her reflection ghost-like in the observation window. At 38, she was the youngest captain ever to command a deep space mission. Her black hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her dark eyes held the determination that had impressed the selection committee 5 years earlier. She had earned this position through exceptional leadership during the Mars colony crisis and her groundbreaking research in exotic matter physics. Dr. Zara Okafor emerged from the engineering section, wiping her hands on a maintenance cloth. As the ship's chief engineer, Zara was responsible for keeping the Pathfinder running smoothly during their long journey. She was a brilliant woman from Lagos, Nigeria, whose innovative work on fusion reactor efficiency had made the mission possible. Her warm smile and infectious laugh had already boosted crew morale during their first week in space. "The exotic matter containment unit is functioning perfectly," Zara announced with satisfaction. "The energy readings from the Alpha Centauri anomaly should give us plenty of data to work with when we arrive." Lieutenant Tom Bradley, the communications officer, joined them at the observation deck. Tom was responsible for maintaining contact with Earth and monitoring all incoming signals during their mission. He was a methodical young man from rural Texas who had surprised everyone by scoring the highest marks in xenocommunication theory at the Space Academy. "Earth Control confirms our last transmission was received clearly," Tom said. "They're tracking our progress and wish us good luck on the next phase of the mission." The crew had trained together for 2 years before launch, becoming more than colleagues. They were a family bound by shared purpose and mutual trust. Each had left behind loved ones and comfortable lives to venture into the unknown regions of space where no human had ever traveled. Their mission was straightforward in concept, but revolutionary in scope. Long-range sensors had detected unusual energy signatures in the Alpha Centauri system, patterns that seemed to suggest artificial origin. If true, it would be humanity's first evidence of alien intelligence. Even if the signals proved natural, the data they collected would advance human understanding of the universe by decades. The Pathfinder continued its journey through the void, passing beyond the outer planets of the solar system. The crew settled into their daily routines, conducting experiments, maintaining equipment, and sending regular reports to Earth. Everything proceeded according to plan for the first 6 months. Then, something changed. During a routine system diagnostic, Dr. Okafor noticed unusual readings from the exotic matter containment unit. The energy patterns were fluctuating in ways that should have been impossible. The readings suggested the exotic matter was somehow responding to external stimuli, as if it were alive. "Captain, you need to see this," Zara called from the engineering station. Her voice carried a mixture of excitement and concern that made Zara's pulse quicken. The crew gathered around Zara's workstation, studying the strange data streaming across her screens. The exotic matter that powered their ship was exhibiting behavior that defied every known law of physics. Instead of maintaining stable energy output, it was pulsing in complex rhythms that seemed almost like communication. Could it be responding to the Alpha Centauri signals? Marcus wondered aloud. "That's impossible at this distance," Ton replied. But his voice lacked conviction. Sarah made the decision that would change everything. "Alter course. Take us closer to the source of these energy patterns. We need to understand what's happening." The Pathfinder adjusted its trajectory, following the exotic matter's increasingly active responses. As they drew nearer to the anomalies source, the ship's instruments began detecting structures that shouldn't exist. Massive constructs floated in the darkness between stars, clearly artificial, but older than Earth itself. "My God," Sarah breathed as the objects resolved on their main screen. "They're ruins, ancient ruins." The structures were breathtaking in their scope and mystery. Crystalline formations, the size of moons, hung in perfect geometric arrangements, connected by streams of energy that pulsed with the same rhythm as their exotic matter. The ruins appeared to be billions of years old, yet they still functioned with purposes beyond human comprehension. Against all protocol, Sarah ordered the ship to dock with one of the smaller structures. The moment the Pathfinder's hull made contact with the alien construct, everything changed. Energy flowed between ship and station like blood through connecting arteries. The crew watched in amazement as their instruments came alive with new capabilities they had never possessed. The ancient ruins were not dead. They were sleeping, waiting for someone worthy to discover them. The exotic matter in the Pathfinders engines had been more than fuel. It was a key, a beacon that called out to technology left behind by beings who had transcended physical existence eons ago. What happened next would remain classified in the crew's personal logs for 15 years. The ancient technology did not simply interface with their ship. It merged with it, creating something entirely new. The Pathfinder became a hybrid of human engineering and alien intelligence, capable of feats that would have seemed like magic to its original designers. The crew themselves were changed by the experience. The merging process enhanced their minds and bodies, granting them insights into the fundamental nature of reality. They learned to communicate with their ship as if it were a living being, because in many ways it had become one. But with great power came great responsibility. The ancient beings had left their technology behind as a test. Only species that demonstrated wisdom, curiosity, and peaceful intent would be granted access to their legacy. Humanity, through the crew of the Pathfinder, had passed that test. For 3 years, the crew explored the network of ancient ruins scattered throughout the galaxy. They learned about civilizations that had risen and fallen millions of years before Earth formed. They discovered technologies that could reshape matter at the atomic level, travel faster than light through dimensions beyond normal space, and even peer into possible futures. But they also learned about the dangers that waited in the galaxy. The ruins contained warnings about aggressive species that sought to dominate rather than explore. Chief among these was the stellar hegemony, an empire that had conquered thousands of worlds through superior technology and ruthless ambition. When the crew finally decided to return to Earth, they brought with them knowledge that would elevate humanity to heights they had never imagined. But they also brought the attention of forces that would see human advancement as a threat to the established order of the galaxy. Back on Earth, 15 years had passed since the Pathfinder's mysterious disappearance. Sarah's sister Jennifer had raised Sarah's daughter alone, never knowing what had happened to her sibling. Marcus's wife had remarried, believing her husband was dead. Tom's parents had held a memorial service, and Zara's research team had continued her work in her memory. The world had moved on, But it had never forgotten the brave crew that had ventured into the unknown and vanished without a trace. Monuments in their honor stood in major cities around the globe. The Sarah Chon Space Academy trained the next generation of explorers. The Marcus Webb Navigation Institute developed new techniques for deep space travel. On a quiet Tuesday morning, that all changed. Defense satellites detected an incoming vessel at the edge of the solar system. The energy signature was unlike anything in Earth's database. The ship moved with impossible grace and speed, its hull shimmering with patterns of light that seemed alive. Earth's military went to high alert, preparing for humanity's first contact. With alien intelligence, then the impossible happened. A familiar voice crackled through the communication arrays, speaking words that sent shockwaves through mission control. Earth Control, this is Captain Sarah Chon of the exploration vessel Pathfinder requesting permission to dock. We have returned from our mission with gifts for humanity. The voice was older, carrying notes of wisdom and experience that hadn't been there 15 years earlier. But it was undeniably Sarah Chon. Somehow, impossibly, the lost crew had come home. As the transformed Pathfinder approached Earth, its presence triggered every sensor and alarm system in human space. The ship that had left as humanity's greatest technological achievement had returned as something beyond Earth's current understanding. Its hull rippled with energy patterns that suggested consciousness. Its engines produced no visible exhaust, yet moved the massive vessel with effortless precision. Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, director of Earth Space Command, stared at the readings in disbelief. The returning ship showed energy outputs that exceeded Earth's entire power grid. Its composition included materials that didn't exist in any database. Most disturbing of all, it seemed to be scanning every satellite and space station in the system, learning about Earth's technological development during the crew's absence. "Open a channel," Dr. Morrison ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Sarah's image appeared on the main screen, and everyone in the control room gasped. She looked older, but not by 15 years. Her hair had streaks of silver, and her eyes held depths of knowledge that seemed impossible for any human mind to contain. Behind her, the Pathfinder's bridge had been transformed into something that appeared grown rather than built. "Director Morrison," Sarah said with a warm smile, "I know our return raises many questions. We have much to share with you, but first we need to discuss the changes that are coming. Humanity is no longer alone in the galaxy, and we have attracted attention from forces both wonderful and terrible." The screen flickered as the transformed Pathfinder's systems interfaced with Earth's communication networks. In that brief moment, every computer on the planet received a data packet containing technologies that would revolutionize human civilization. Clean energy systems, medical advances, manufacturing techniques, and defensive technologies flowed into Earth's databases like a gift from the gods. "We have learned much during our journey," Sarah continued. "But we have also learned that knowledge brings responsibility. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders, but it is also home to those who would see humanity's growth as a threat to their power. We must be prepared." As the Pathfinder entered Earth orbit, its arrival marked the end of humanity's isolation and the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. The crew that had vanished as explorers had returned as harbingers of change, carrying within them the seeds of humanity's transformation from a single-planet species to guardians of ancient wisdom. But their return had not gone unnoticed. Deep in space, sensors belonging to the stellar hegemony detected the energy signatures of precursor technology. For 50,000 years, the hegemony had ruled the galaxy through technological superiority. They had never encountered a species that could challenge their dominance. That was about to change. Admiral Cale Vorthik received the intelligence report with growing alarm. According to his sensors, a primitive species from a backwater system had somehow gained access to precursor technology. This should have been impossible. The precursors had vanished before his species had learned to harness fire, leaving behind only ruins and legends. "Prepare the Third Fleet," he ordered his subordinates. "We have a new threat to investigate." The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity, through the transformation of the Pathfinder's crew, had become something new. They carried within them the legacy of the precursors, and the responsibility to use that power wisely. As Sarah Chun looked down at the blue marble of Earth from her transformed ship, she felt the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. The easy part of their journey was over. Now came the real test of humanity's character and the beginning of their role in the greater galactic community. The ancient technology whispered in her mind, sharing visions of possible futures. Some showed humanity spreading peacefully among the stars, sharing knowledge and fostering cooperation between species. Others showed galactic war and the destruction of civilizations. The path forward would depend on the choices made in the coming days. Sarah took a deep breath and opened a channel to Earth's leaders. There was much work to do, and time was running short. The hegemony would not ignore the emergence of a new power, and humanity would need every advantage they could gain to survive what was coming. The Pathfinder had returned home, but its greatest journey was just beginning. Empire's Fear and Humanities. Ascension Supreme Admiral Kale Vorthik stood before the holographic display in the command center of the hegemony flagship Eternal Dominance. The massive dreadnought stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull bristling with weapons capable of cracking planets. For 50,000 years, ships like these had maintained the stellar hegemony's iron grip on the galaxy. Vorthik was a towering figure even among his own species. The Zelthrans were natural predators, evolved from apex hunters on a world where only the strongest survived. His 6 arms ended in razor-sharp claws, and his scaled hide bore the scars of countless battles. 3 rows of teeth gleamed in his elongated skull as he studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. "Explain this again," he commanded, his voice a low rumble that made junior officers step back instinctively. "Commander Thex." His intelligence chief activated the holographic display. Images of the transformed Pathfinder appeared in the air, surrounded by streams of data that made no sense according to hegemony science. "The vessel appeared at the edge of this system 18 hours ago," Thex reported, his own 4 arms gesturing at the display. "Initial scans suggested it was a primitive craft from the species we designated as Earth humans. However, subsequent analysis reveals technology signatures that match theoretical precursor capabilities." Vorthik's 3 eyes narrowed dangerously. The precursors were legend, beings of such advanced technology that they had transcended physical existence before the hegemony had even discovered fire. Their ruins dotted the galaxy, sealed and impenetrable, taunting every species that encountered them with mysteries beyond comprehension. "That's impossible," growled General Krex from his position at the tactical station. "No primitive species has ever successfully interfaced with precursor technology. We've been trying for millennia. Nevertheless, the evidence is undeniable," Thex continued. "The human vessel demonstrates capabilities that our scientists claim violate known physics. It manipulates matter at the quantum level, generates energy from unknown sources, and appears to possess some form of artificial consciousness." The command center fell silent, except for the hum of the ship's massive engines. Every officer present understood the implications. The hegemony's dominance rested on their technological superiority over all other species. If humans had somehow unlocked precursor secrets, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift dramatically. Vorthik's claws extended as he processed this information. His species had conquered the galaxy through strength and superior technology. They had enslaved some races, eliminated others, and kept the rest in carefully controlled subordinate positions. The possibility of a species surpassing them technologically was unthinkable, "How many humans are there?" he asked finally. "Approximately 8 billion, concentrated on a single world," Vex replied. "They've only recently developed space travel and have no significant off-world colonies. By all metrics, they should be centuries away from being capable of interstellar threats." "And yet here we are," Vorthik muttered. He turned to address the assembled officers. "Alert the High Council. Prepare the Third Fleet for immediate deployment. We will investigate these humans and determine how they acquired precursor technology." General Krex stepped forward. "Sir, should we attempt diplomatic contact first? If they truly possess advanced capabilities, a direct confrontation might be inadvisable." Vorthik's laugh was like the sound of grinding metal. "Diplomacy is for equals, General. These humans are either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be exploited. We will determine which category they fall into after we study their technology." As the hegemony fleet prepared for departure, Captain Sarah Chun stood in the transformed bridge of the Pathfinder, watching Earth through viewports that had become living crystal. The ship's consciousness, which the crew had learned to call Harmony, whispered updates directly into her mind through the neural link they now shared. The integration with precursor technology had changed them in ways they were still discovering. Sarah's reflexes were faster. Her mind processed information at superhuman speeds, and she could interface directly with any system on the ship. But the most profound change was the connection she felt to the vast network of consciousness that the precursors had become. "Captain," Marcus Webb called from his position at what had once been the navigation station. The controls now resembled living metal that responded to thought as much as touch. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the Galactic Core, multiple vessels, heavily armed." Sarah nodded calmly. They had expected this. The moment they activated precursor technology, they had known it would attract attention from the galaxy's established powers. Harmony had shared historical data about the stellar hegemony, painting a picture of an aggressive empire built on conquest and oppression. Dr. Zara Okafor looked up from her engineering station, her eyes now flecked with the same silver patterns. That marked all the crew members. "The ship's defensive systems are coming online automatically. I think Harmony is preparing for conflict. Can we avoid a fight?" Lieutenant Tom Bradley asked from his communications post. Despite his transformation, Tom retained his instinct for peaceful solutions. Sarah felt Harmony's response through their mental link. The ship's artificial consciousness had access to 50,000 years of hegemony history. It had witnessed their conquest of countless worlds, their destruction of species that dared to resist, and their ruthless exploitation of weaker civilizations. "We can try," Sarah said finally, "but Harmony doesn't think they'll listen. The hegemony has never encountered a species they couldn't dominate through superior technology. They won't accept that humanity might be different." The hegemony third. Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a plague of metal locusts. 50 dreadnoughts and countless smaller vessels spread across space in a formation designed to intimidate as much as to fight. Each ship bristled with weapons that could sterilize planets, their hulls scarred by millennia of conquest. Admiral Vorthik studied the human solar system from his command throne. The third planet showed the telltale signs of a developing civilization. Cities glowed on the night side, space stations orbited in neat formations, and primitive spacecraft moved between the inner worlds. It all looked pathetically fragile compared to the might of his fleet. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he commanded. Sarah's face appeared on the main display, and Vorthik felt a moment of surprise. She looked remarkably similar to several species in the hegemony, though her features were softer than most. Her dark eyes held an intelligence that seemed almost familiar. "I am Supreme Admiral Cale Vorthik of the Stellar Hegemony," he announced, his voice carrying the authority of 50 millennia of dominance. "You will surrender your vessel for inspection and submit to hegemony authority." Compliance will ensure the survival of your species. Sarah studied the alien commander with interest rather than fear. Through Harmony's vast database, she recognized the Zelthran physiognomy and understood their psychological patterns. Vorthik expected terror and immediate submission. Instead, she smiled. Admiral Vorthik, I am Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We appreciate your interest in our technology, but we cannot comply with your demands. We come in peace and offer the same to you. Vorthik's three eyes widened in disbelief. In 50,000 years of conquest, no species had ever refused a hegemony. Ultimatum. The audacity was almost incomprehensible. You misunderstand your situation, human, he snarled. My fleet could reduce your entire system to asteroid debris. Your primitive technology cannot stand against the might of the hegemony. Admiral, Sarah replied patiently, our technology is no longer primitive. We've learned much during our travels. Perhaps we could discuss this situation more constructively. Instead of responding, Vorthik gestured to his weapons officer. Demonstrate our superiority. Target the human ship with minimum force. I want it disabled, not destroyed. The flagship's main cannon fired a concentrated beam of energy that could punch through a moon. The blast struck the Pathfinder's hull and simply vanished, absorbed by shields that rippled like liquid light. The human ship didn't even move from the impact. That silence filled the hegemony command center. Officers stared at their instruments in disbelief. The energy discharge should have crippled any known vessel. Instead, it appeared to have made the human ship glow brighter. Impossible, breathed Commander Thex. The energy just disappeared. Sarah's voice came through the communication channel, still calm and patient. Admiral, we don't wish to fight you, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Please reconsider your approach. Vorthik's rage built like a nuclear fire. No primitive species had ever defied the hegemony with such casual confidence. All ships open fire, destroy that vessel. 50 dreadnoughts unleashed their full arsenal simultaneously. The space around the Pathfinder lit up like a newborn star as planet-killing energies converged on the human ship. The display was so brilliant that crew members throughout the fleet had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, the Pathfinder floated unchanged in the void. Its hull gleamed with absorbed energy, and strange patterns of light danced across its surface like aurora. The ship had not only survived the combined firepower of the hegemony's most powerful fleet, it had somehow grown stronger. Admiral, Sarah's voice carried a note of sadness now. You force us to demonstrate capabilities we hope to keep hidden. Harmony, please respond appropriately. The Pathfinder began to move in ways that violated every law of physics the hegemony understood. It flowed through space like liquid mercury, accelerating without visible thrust and changing direction without inertia. The ship danced between the massive dreadnoughts, like a dolphin swimming among whales. Then it began to sing. A harmonic resonance filled space, transmitted on frequencies that penetrated every hull and reached every ear. The song was hauntingly beautiful, but it carried an edge of power that made hardened warriors weep. As the melody built, systems throughout the hegemony fleet began to malfunction. What's happening? Vorthik demanded as his ship's displays flickered. The human vessel is somehow interfacing with our computers. Vex reported, his voice tight with panic. It's rewriting our operating systems, installing new protocols. I can't stop it. The song reached its crescendo, and every weapon in the hegemony fleet simply stopped working. Not destroyed, not damaged, but somehow convinced that violence was no longer an option. The ship's defensive systems remained online, but their ability to project force had been gently but firmly removed. This is impossible, Vorthik whispered, his claws scraping against his command throne. No technology can rewrite quantum encrypted. systems remotely. Sarah's image appeared on every screen in the fleet simultaneously. Admiral, we've disabled your weapons, but left all other systems intact. Your crews are unharmed. We've also uploaded medical databases that should help treat several genetic conditions common among your species. The offer of medical assistance in the middle of a battle was so unexpected that Vorthik struggled to process it. Why? He asked finally. Because that's what we do, Sarah replied simply. We help, we explore, we learn. We don't conquer or destroy, unless there's no other choice. Through the ship's sensors, Sarah could see the confusion and fear rippling through the hegemony fleet. These beings had built their entire civilization on the concept of might making right. The idea of offering aid to an enemy was beyond their comprehension. You could destroy us, Vorthik said, his voice hollow with the realization. Your technology clearly surpasses ours. Why don't you? Because destroying you would serve no purpose, Sarah answered. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy, Admiral. We're interested in making it better. Commander Vex studied his tactical displays with growing amazement. The human ship's modifications to their systems weren't just disabling weapons. They were optimizing efficiency, reducing power consumption, and eliminating dozens of chronic technical problems that had plagued hegemony vessels for centuries. Sir, he reported quietly, they've improved our systems. Engine efficiency is up 12%. Life support is running smoother than it has in decades. They single quotes helping us. The concept was so alien to hegemony, thinking that many officers couldn't accept it. How could an enemy improve their capabilities? What possible advantage could come from strengthening a potential threat? Sarah seemed to sense their confusion. Admiral, we've learned that the galaxy is vast enough for all of us. The precursors taught us that true strength comes not from dominance, but from cooperation. We offer you the same choice they offered us. And what choice is that? Vorthik asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Join us in something greater than conquest, Sarah replied. Help us explore the unknown, protect the innocent, and build a civilization worthy of the stars. The precursors left their legacy not as a weapon, but as a gift to those ready to transcend their limitations. The hegemony fleet floated in space, weapons disabled but not destroyed, crews unharmed but deeply shaken. For the first time in 50,000 years, they had encountered a force they could not overcome through violence. More disturbing still, that force offered partnership instead of punishment. Asterisk. On the bridge of the Pathfinder, Sarah felt the weight of the moment. Through Harmony's consciousness, she could sense the decision points branching out like a vast tree. Some paths led to peace and cooperation. Others led to escalating conflict. That would consume entire sectors of the galaxy. The choice is yours, Admiral, she said softly, but choose quickly. There are other powers in the galaxy less patient than we are. If you insist on remaining enemies, you may find yourselves facing threats far worse than us. As if summoned by her words, new contacts appeared on the edge of the system. Ships of unfamiliar design, their energy signatures suggesting technologies even more advanced than the Pathfinders. A galaxy held many secrets, and humanity's emergence had awakened more than just the hegemony's attention. Vorthik studied the new arrivals with growing alarm. His intelligence networks had no data on these vessels, but their approach patterns suggested hostile intent. Whatever they were, they showed none of the restraint the humans had demonstrated. Admiral, Sarah's voice carried new urgency. We're detecting quantum torpedo signatures from the approaching fleet. They're not here to talk. Will you fight beside us, or must we face this threat alone? The moment of truth had arrived. Vorthik could cling to 50,000 years of hegemony doctrine and maintain his hostility toward the humans, or he could accept that the galaxy had changed in ways that demanded new thinking. He looked at his officers. seeing the same recognition in their eyes. The old ways of thinking might no longer be adequate for the challenges ahead. "All ships, weapons free," he commanded. "Prepare to defend this system alongside our ... allies." The word felt strange in his mouth, but as the unknown fleet closed in with clearly hostile intent, Vorthik realized that the age of hegemony dominance was ending. Perhaps it was time to discover what could be built in its place. The battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in millennia, the outcome was far from certain. But as the Pathfinder's song filled space once more, this time joined by the harmonics of hegemony vessels, there was hope that whatever emerged would be better than what came before. Humanity had passed its first test as a galactic power. Now came the greater challenge of proving worthy of the legacy they had inherited and the responsibility it carried. The stars waited to see what they would choose to become. Asterisk.